with Keith and Matt Williams. Johnny Ward in studio, as you may have heard, coughing, and also talking later on about the new Saudi owners at Galway United. Very interesting story there. 53106, the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie, you're very welcome.
Hey Joe, thanks.
And Johnny.
Am I the only one who thinks Russia are really bang average side and they just fluked their way to their position in the group? No. I thought Egypt were very poor yesterday.
Fluked is not the word I'd use.
Yeah. I think they're no good. They're quite old as well. Zhirkov's like 34 and he's still playing left back.
They're running like demons.
They're not, though. Can I make this point? They're not. Like, the general raised eyebrows towards Russia, I share that. I'm as sceptical of Russia as anyone. Of course, you'd be mad not to. And I've no doubt some funny business is going on. But you can't say that there's something fishy going on based on the stats or the level of their performance physically.
It's come from nowhere, though. That's the thing. They're the lowest ranked side coming into the tournament. They had no semblance of form at this level. Now, I know you're going to temper that by saying, look, who they've played, they haven't played any great side so far yet. Yeah. I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
But it's just the very notion that watching them last night, and again last Thursday, was it, when the tournament began? That they're boundless energy for a bunch of lads who are my age is just, I don't know, unusual.
On the boundless energy point, so look, I mean, I'm not saying they're somehow lacking in energy, and certainly they ran 118k in 90 minutes the other evening and 115 as well. So the next best of any team across round one was 112. So they're at 118 and 115. On the face of it, that's like, yeah, okay. It's notable anytime I think a Russian team in any sport tops the physicality stats. You know, that's would give you pause for thought. And they have 3 players in the top 10 for distance out of 400 players. So it's a fairly concentrated amount. It's a good amount. But like, yeah, it's not like unfathomable. It's not unprecedented. Their top runner in round one, Golovin, was 12.7 kilometres in the game. So Christian Eriksen was second at 12.2. And actually Eriksen is the highest Premier League runner across the season. He's doing 11.97 average a game. So Eriksen's very fit for a fella that we don't associate with much industry. He's,
I think it was somebody's pointed that out earlier on Twitter saying you don't notice it, but he does a lot of running.
Yeah.
Does Eriksen, yeah.
So anyway, look, their top guy is 12.7. Like, if you look back, David Beckham in that very famous game against Greece when he scored the free kick at Old Trafford to get them into the World Cup in 2002, Beckham did 16.1k in that game, which was off the charts.
What age was he?
It was in 2001.
That was in 2001.
He was born in 75, so I guess he was around his peak.
25.
Okay, so around his peak.
25 and playing for the best side in Europe at the time.
Sure, but 16.1. Now, if a Russian did 16.1 this tournament, I mean, then it would just be crazy. I'm not saying nothing nefarious has gone on. I'm just saying...
You're not saying something nefarious has gone on?
I know, I think I'm just... based on, if you were just to look at the stats and the running figures, I don't think you could say, well, QED, this proves it. Now, that said...
No, I'd accept that. There is absolutely no proving anything until a test comes out and shows that X, Y, and Z has happened. I don't think they're helped by the fact that one of their players failed a test in the lead up to the tournament, and apparently, according to Hajo Seppelt and ARD and all those in Germany, that they tried to cover that up.
That was June 2015,
That doesn't look good.
Ruslan Kambelov, who's missing this tournament due to a calf injury. So, well, Rodchenkov, he didn't fail a test, but Rodchenkov came out in ARD and said that absolutely he was one of the players who had a urine sample, quote, definitely swapped. So look, I'm just saying on stats alone, anyone who's just sitting there watching them and goes, doping, based on what they're seeing or based on the running stats, I don't think you can do that. Now, you can make a pretty strong argument when you take in the whole picture, I appreciate. So we'll talk to Ewan McKenna and Matt Slater about that and see what they think.
You definitely have reason to cock an eyebrow.
My exact point is there are plenty of raised eyebrows and wry grins and funny lines on Twitter about how they're full of beans and full of energy and full of enthusiasm.
Injected with euphoria is what Rafa Honigstein said earlier on.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that aside, Johnny, and we'll get to that at 7:30, what have you made of the World Cup thus far? We're just into the start of round 2 of games. Have you enjoyed it? Have you been watching it?
Yeah. You know, I haven't been able to watch all the games between, like, for example, Sunday I went to the Connacht final, so didn't really see much there. And then on Monday night for the England game, I was actually at the Galway United EGM, which we'll talk about later on.
Yeah.
So I've missed some games. I think it's crying out for a team to to really impress. Like, so I don't think any team has. Like, I think no team has looked really that solid defensively of the teams that I would fancy to win the tournament. You're talking to me about Spain and Portugal beforehand.
I thought Spain were good. Most people seem to think Spain were very good the other night. They've just kicked off, by the way, against Iran. It's 0-0 after 10 minutes.
Iran have started brightly, by the way, in this one.
Spain looked to me like a team that are going to concede goals. I actually don't really rate Piqué and Ramos as a partnership either. But like, France weren't overly impressive.
No.
I didn't see the Brazil game, but certainly Argentina looked like a lot less than the sum of their parts as well, don't they? So I don't know. It's Belgium have a chance, I think. I think they really do have a chance, yeah. I was expecting a lot more of Uruguay today with the players they have. They were not good.
Luis Suarez ain't doping.
No.
He's about a stone overweight.
He's doping on cake.
My God.
He's smoking some of the funny stuff or something, because he was really poor today. He was lethargic, touch was off. You know, terrible goalkeeping for the goal.
Remember, he joined Barcelona and he arrived and he was overweight, like distinctly overweight, actually, visibly overweight, and it took him a while to lose the weight. Clearly, he's one of those mere mortals susceptible to putting on a few pounds. We can all relate to that. He doesn't look fit now. He genuinely looks overweight, and had a tap-in goal. The Saudi Arabia keeper didn't inspire there. He came for a cross and completely missed it, and it was a tap-in to the net for Suarez, but he didn't look great. Uruguay didn't look great.
And I should point out, I'm prescribed from any criticism of the Saudi team as well. Yeah,
given the new ownership at Galway.
Yeah,
okay, good to know.
They perform well today, Johnny. I think you're doing okay.
They were a lot better, but they do need Suarez to up his game markedly if they're going to do anything in the tournament. Because I don't think it was like they were trying not to play well today. They just didn't play well, and they didn't look like a team that's going to go very far. Very few chances. Cavani didn't do an awful lot either. I don't know. It looks very open, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, absolutely open.
What were England like? Because I saw the first 20 minutes and they were brilliant. And then I had to go, and all of a sudden they were showing us at the meeting that they nabbed a last-minute winner. Like,
I thought they were okay.
I thought they were good. I mean, what struck me is that people, as we all tend to do, they analysed England in isolation. So they'll tell you they were really good for the first 20 minutes and then played terribly. Omitting the fact that Tunisia for the first 20 minutes played this very high line. So in the first 20 you would have seen all these speedsters for England were running in behind and had loads of space to run into. What then happened after you left the game is Tunisia decided to actually think for 5 seconds and just drop deep. And suddenly it was an incredibly congested area, and it became much more sticky and difficult for England, and then they missed their chances when they had the chance to kill the game, and then Tunisia go and get a penalty. And of course at that level it gets very difficult. I'm really interested in the Belgian game to see, when Belgium have a bit of possession in England's half and put numbers forward, will England be this brilliant counter-attacking team that they have the potential to be? So I'm really looking forward to that game. I don't know when it's on, actually. I hope I'm not in work. That's my initial thought right now. But I thought
it can be your work to watch it, Jack.
England look like a team that can do damage. Absolutely. But no, they're not going to win the thing.
I don't know, pound for pound, is there any team better than Belgium in terms of the quality in that team?
Belgium were poor in their opening game, especially in the first half. They really, really huffed and puffed in a game that they, as you mentioned on paper, should put away fairly easily. They were, I don't know, very underwhelming.
Got the job done though.
Yeah. On the Russian footballers, lads, with the threat of the gulag hanging over you, I'd run 150k per game if I had to. That's from Comrade Sticky from Drimna, who is listening in. And Roy Keane's been in the ITV studio this evening. Not a massive fan of Iran manager Carlos Queiroz.
Probably quite defence-minded. I always felt had a decent relationship, particularly in his first spell at the club. His second spell when he came back. For some reason, towards the end of my time there, I found him really disrespectful towards me, so we had a bit of a fallout. You know, he questioned my loyalty, and I told him where to go. And one of my big regrets, really, I probably should have ripped his head off. But excellent coach, and he's doing an excellent job, has to be said. And I think he'll enjoy tonight's challenge because he likes, obviously, defensive shape and players covering the spaces. And they'll be delighted with the result they had from the first game, of course.
He's a really good coach. Like, if you look at you look at the Iran team, they really weren't entitled to win their first game, but they after a shaky start, they're so well set up defensively. And if you're set up reasonably well defensively in this tournament, you can go a lot longer. You look at Greece back in the day. If you don't concede goals, like how many goals did Ireland get in 1990? Like 1 or something. You can if you defend, and he really knows how to set up his team defensively.
I was at their game against Argentina 4 years ago at the World Cup, and they just were so comfortable defensively. It was a messy goal laid on, but otherwise, Iran were sitting there, and Argentina ran out of ideas very early on, so he knows what he's doing. I've just had like the flashback of Keane and Kyrgios there. We literally just got that clip before 7, and just as he was playing it, and he was talking about the end of their relationship at Man United, I just remembered. This is either in Keane's book or Ferguson's book. Someone will know, 53106, the listeners always know, someone always knows out there, where it was a team meeting and Keane was getting bored with what they were doing at training. I think this could be in Keane's book, the one with Roddy Doyle. And Keane said to Kyrgios in front of everyone to make his point, they were having an argument, and he literally said to Kyrgios, do you make love to your wife in the same position every night? Or he asked him in front of everyone, what position do you make love to your wife in? And Kyrgios was like, what? And he goes, would you do it in the same way every night? To make a point about training being monotonous.
I actually think that's class.
Well, you would.
No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of Roy Keane, but I think that's very clever. Yeah.
Incredibly clever.
You're going to use that one on the podcast next week.
Might have a week off, maybe. But,
summer break.
Yeah. Interesting draws for the League of Ireland teams as well.
Summer break in the league, is it? Well, we'll get to them. I'm sure they're in Richie's news round. So let's kick off this news round. You can get your texts in. Oh, here we go. This is from, JP's just Googled this. This is from a news excerpt on it, clearly. So Keane also recalls how he asked Carlos Queiroz if he made love to his wife in the same position every night when the Portuguese dismissed his suggestion they should mix it up in training a bit. I said, you change the position, don't you? Sometimes you have to mix up training a little bit. That's all I'm saying. That's coming from all the players. It's not a personal thing. What Roy said afterwards, I haven't a clue why I said that, and I still don't.
Roy Keane had a mirrored ceiling on his bed.
He did?
He did.
Wow.
They put that up for sale, and there was a mirrored ceiling on the 4-poster bed.
Wow.
So we're getting under the fingernails of Roy Keane here.
Thought this was a sports show.
The news round is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. And Richie, you're starting with the action today. So it's 0-0 between Iran and Spain, 16 minutes gone. The third of 3 games today. Yeah,
Uruguay sealed their place in the last 16 earlier. Luis Suarez, as we mentioned, getting the only goal of the game on the occasion of his 100th cap as they laboured to a 1-0 win over Saudi Arabia in Rostov. The result also means that hosts Russia are through to the second phase. The last time Russia, in the guise of the USSR, of course, were into the second phase was back in 1986. Earlier, Cristiano Ronaldo's 85th international goal gave Portugal a 1-0 win over Morocco. The goal, his 4th of the tournament, sees him leapfrog Ferenc Puskás in the list even of European international goal scorers. Morocco's Nourdine Amrabat started that game wearing a headguard, having suffered a concussion in their loss to Iran at the weekend, but he discarded the headwear 16 minutes into today's game in Moscow. Speaking of that decision to field Amrabat, his coach Hervé Renard said after today's game, he's a warrior and wanted to play. FIFPro, the agency that represents over 60,000 players worldwide, says that football hasn't made sufficient progress in concussion management and that calls to implement world-class standards have been continually overlooked.
That's a scandal.
I know.
That's an absolute scandal.
Rugby, quite rightly, is under the microscope with this issue, and every even hint of a small, poor choice or some player being put in danger is seized upon, and it's a huge talking point. If football gets away with absolute murder in this regard, like this is just a joke. He suffered a concussion. They put him back on. Like in rugby, at least you're not heading the ball.
You're heading people's hips instead. But
I accept that, but you know what I mean.
But you see this, and it's like he's a warrior. He wanted to continue.
That's
the jokes that flowed in after the Karius situation in the Champions League final. It's just not regarded as an issue.
No.
And there's a generation of players who are in their 70s and 80s now, who should tell you that it's an issue because so many of them are suffering from dementia, and it's as a result mostly of playing football and heading the ball.
Yeah. And the best part is they sent him out with that little scrum cap thingy as if that would protect him.
Oh, he's grand. Well, he was concussed 4 days ago, so that'll solve it.
Yeah, but make sure you get up and win your headers, okay? You're a warrior. Yeah, it's shocking stuff, actually. I think this may be the watershed moment, the Karius situation, and maybe something like this where we might have some protocols in by next season. So, Champions Cup, Heineken Champions Cup draws made. Yeah, what do we call it?
The Heineken European Champions Cup.
Well, so that's going to have to be abbreviated. Is it going to go back to Heineken Cup?
We're getting there slowly.
Are we?
We are getting there, because it was the Champions Cup sponsored by Heineken. They were the associate sponsors, and now they're getting closer to being title sponsors.
Half the country was just still calling it the Heineken Cup anyway.
Most of the country still are, Joe. You can't, of course, because you'll be presenting highlights of it, I'm sure, on TV3.
I believe you did a very good job, Joe, actually.
He was very good.
What do you mean you believe? Did you not watch it now?
Wouldn't be a
Housewives'
big rugby
favourite.
fan.
Housewives' favourite.
Do you prefer the TV or the radio or the presenter?
Depends if Richie's in.
Yeah.
You miss me on TV, don't you? Sitting there with Matt Williams and Ron O'Gara. It's not as good.
No, it's definitely not as good. No.
A million people watching on TV. You could just have me and, you know, whoever's knocking around on Facebook this evening.
Yeah.
Staring at you.
Who is on Facebook this evening? Let's get the comments in.
The Irish provinces will meet several familiar faces in the opening round of next season's European competitions. Ulster handed the toughest Champions Cup draw. They're in Pool 4, along with Scarlets, Leicester and Simon Zebo's new employers Racing. Former Munster second rower Brant Grubler will be back at Thomond Park with his new club Gloucester in Pool 2, along with Exeter and Castres, while Pool 1 is comprised purely of former winners of the competition. Defending champions Leinster were drawn with 4-time winners Toulouse, 2-time champions Wasps and 1998 victors Bath. Former Leinster coach Gervin Dempsey is Bath's new attack coach, and Leo Cullen says that familiarity works both ways.
It's always very dangerous. Anyone that has been part of the team here, when they move somewhere else, and you always wish them very best, but you hope they don't come back to haunt you on some of the days. So no, it'll be great catching up with those guys. I know Bath have a very strong coaching group as well. I was lucky enough to spend some time at Todd Blackadder when he was coaching the Canterbury Crusaders. So yeah, they're a really good bunch of people over there, so it'll be a great challenge for us.
Meanwhile, Paddy Jackson will be making a sooner than expected return to Irish shores, it would seem. His new side Perpignan were drawn in the same European Challenge Cup pool as Connacht. Joining them in a tough Pool 3, has to be said, will be Sale and Bordeaux Bègles.
So World Cup very much underway. Curry's PC World want to get you closer to the action. Their exclusive Get Your TV for Free promotion means there's a 1 in 20 chance to win your cash back when you buy a TV 55 inches or larger. Nothing beats watching the big games on the big screen, and with Ireland's largest range of TVs and all the best brands, Curry's PC World has you covered. So tonight we're giving you the chance to win a beautiful 55-inch Samsung 4K Ultra HD curved LED TV. To be in the chance of winning, just identify our mystery voice, who is in no doubt when it comes to naming his favourite 1980s John Candy Road movie.
It was Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
Text your name and you know...
That's an interesting one.
You know what that is?
I think I might.
We'll give it one more whirl.
It was Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
No, I'm less sure.
Oh yeah. Very famous.
Ah, yeah.
Sporting world?
I know who it is, but it sounds like someone else as well.
Irish soccer team.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was.
Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents. We'll announce
Can
the
I
winner
vote?
No.
Later on the show. You're not voting, you're entering.
Enter.
Who are you voting for?
I'm voting for him.
Vote yes or no, or just give us the answer to 53106, 30 cents. We'll announce the winner later on the show. Get closer to the World Cup action this summer with Off the Ball and Curry's PC World. The big revelation yesterday, as I marvelled at the thought of a 55-inch television, is that Keith Andrews said, yeah, I've got a 65-inch TV in my house.
Massive gaff. Did you see his armchair this morning on OTB AM?
No, missed it.
He's got like the Big Brother chair in his house. He's sitting in a big, high-backed red oak.
Is that right?
Looks like the Big Brother chair from one of
He
the
was
early
picking
series.
his World Cup 11, was he? Irish 11. Can you remember it? I didn't.
It's very early for me, Joe.
Can we get it, JP? Can we dig it out?
There's a graphic there.
Keith Andrews picked out his Irish 11. Best 11 at a World Cup.
One breaking piece of injury news from the World Cup, by the way, Joe.
Yes.
England manager Gareth Southgate has dislocated his shoulder while out running.
Wow.
See?
Yeah.
That's a trip.
The FA have announced that he was running on his day off near the training base in Rapino during a scheduled day off from training. Barely 36 hours earlier, Southgate was pictured jumping for joy after Harry Kane's late goal secured a campaign opening win over Tunisia.
Serves him right for doing exercise.
That's a bloody nuisance for him. Although I won't comment any further. Red Dub has tweeted in because the Off the Ball Twitter feed put out me saying I'm looking forward to seeing England against Belgium, to which he replied, Jesus, you're bloody obsessed with England. Who cares? Who cares about anything? Let's not talk about anything.
Everything's rubbish.
Everything is mostly rubbish. So Johnny was interested in the Europa League qualifiers for the Irish sides. What are we looking at?
Yeah, Dundalk basically have Cork campaign from last year set in front of them. They'll fancy their chances of making the next round of the Europa League qualifiers because they've been drawn away to Levadia Tallinn for the first leg of their first round tie. Levadia lost 6-2 in aggregate to Cork last year. Should Dundalk come through that one, they'll face AEK Larnaca in round 2. Larnaca accounted for Cork last season.
Did Larnaca beat Cork well last season?
No, they beat them 1-0 at home, and I think it might have been 1-0 away as well. Sean Maguire was denied a blatant penalty, but Cork weren't particularly good in either game.
Okay, so Dundalk would have a chance there.
Dundalk will fancy their chance of winning both those games.
And if they beat Larnaca, where does that leave them?
Well, we won't know until the third round qualifiers.
There's another qualifier.
Basically, you're going to get the Champions League qualifiers. I think I'm going to be dropping in at that stage as well.
Yeah.
the beaten Champions League.
This is the interesting aspect. Is this did not go down well in the Dundalk camp, as far as I know. John Caulfield's quote on Legia, he said 2 years ago against Dundalk in the Aviva Stadium, they were superb. They played Dundalk off the park. They didn't at all. They didn't at all. So
I really enjoyed the Cork.
The needle
hatred.
Yeah, but it's often been said Dundalk played the nicer football, but actually in the head-to-heads, Cork tend to beat them.
Yeah.
But Cork, if you're going to judge John Caulfield's reign, and I think he's done superbly well, one thing they haven't been brilliant in is Europe. And this is interesting because they don't actually pass the ball very much in the league. They go direct a lot. So how they perform against Legia, and I've been to that stadium, was at the Dundalk away game, it's a cauldron. I think it's going to be fascinating. I do fear for them. But
Okay.
Dundalk have a very good draw.
Okay. And then Shamrock Rovers?
Yeah, they've probably got the hardest one, or one of the hardest draws of the Irish sides. They're going to be playing AIK of Stockholm, and they'll be away for the second leg of their tie. Derry City are heading east for a clash with Dinamo Minsk. Those ties to be played the last week of July and the first week of August. Meanwhile, Burnley's European return will take them no further than Scotland. They'll face Aberdeen in the second qualifying round. Jordan Henley and Darragh Lyons are the two remaining links to the 2016 All-Ireland winning side as Waterford face Cork in the Borgosh Energy Munster Under-21 hurling semi-finals tonight. Cork managed to field 7 players who lined out against Waterford in the Senior Championship this past weekend. Throwing a Páirc Uí Chaoimh is rapidly approaching in the next 5 minutes. It's also semi-finals night in Leinster with Kilkenny facing Galway, at Bournemouth O'Connor Park, and Dublin facing Wexford. Both of those games also starting at 7:30. And Ireland will renew acquaintances with the All Blacks in the autumn. The reigning world champions will visit the Aviva Stadium on November 17th. Ireland will kickstart their autumn series against Argentina on November 10th, and the final match of that series comes against the USA at the Lansdowne Road venue on November the 24th. Meanwhile, Sam Ryan will make his championship debut for Cork in Sunday's Munster football final with Kerry. The same Finbar's man replaces Colm O'Neill in the Rebels starting 15. O'Neill has though been named on the bench despite concerns over damaged cartilage, but there is no place in the squad for Sean Powter, who is yet to recover from injury. Odds-on favourite Cracksman was beaten today in the feature race on day 2 of Royal Ascot. The Michael Stout trained Poet's Word was an 11-2 winner of the Prince of Wales Stakes, beating Cracksman into second position. The win makes Stout the most successful trainer in Royal Ascot history, bringing his tally with that win to 76 victories. There was an Aidan O'Brien 1-2-3 in the Queen's Vase, with Kew Gardens romping home 4.5 lengths ahead of Southern France.
You're a vase over a vase man, are you?
Yeah.
Are you a man who's into Ascot? Watching closely?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I'm going to give a tip for tomorrow. Vizirabad. Each way in the Gold Cup, 6-1. I'm not going to suggest the big stake I once suggested on the show with you.
Don't.
But it won. Yeah.
No.
It's up to you yourself how much you want to put on, but it's an each way price.
Don't bet much.
Yeah.
Or at all. Better still. Can I ask you, what's going on lately with all the race meetings descending into basically kind of English football in the 1980s?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
there was one. It used to happen at all the time. It was like an annual scrap. What was that?
Yeah,
was that Aintree?
It probably was Aintree. I haven't been to Aintree, funny enough,
Right.
but
it's happening more and more now. I'm on the Daily Mail website, and there's like the latest race meeting where everybody gets dressed up in suits
and gets
then gets drunk, and then there's a massive fight. Almost, it's starting to feel like pre-organised territory.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But there is a fairly big drink culture at those meetings in the summer in England, rightly or wrongly. Probably more so than here, actually. But it's very unsavoury, and I racing does need to kind of look at it. Because funnily enough, one of my issues with British racing is it's quite classist in the sense that like when you go over there, you're kind of, they stop you from going to certain parts of the track, and it's kind of, they look down on you if you dress kind of in an everyday manner or whatever. But this is quite the contrast.
Sure is.
Do you know, and it's not remotely an issue in Ireland. The only thing in Ireland I can think of is those sometimes hideous student days they have, where I think they've kind of dealt with that, but there have been big issues with that. Like, I've been at meetings where, like, say the first race is 2 o'clock and every student is already half cut by the time, if not fully cut by the time the first race starts.
That's students for you, Johnny.
Yeah.
About no gooders.
It wasn't like that in my day.
No, it wasn't.
Richie, drink responsibly.
Well behaved, Johnny Ward. West Ham, in some transfer news, have signed goalkeeper Lucas Fabianski from Swansea. Signed a 3.5-year contract and signs for an undisclosed fee. He was an unused substitute in Poland's 2-1 defeat to Senegal yesterday. Leicester, meanwhile, have shelled out big money for Norwich midfielder James Maddison. He signed on a 4-year contract and has apparently set back Leicester around £24 million. And Huddersfield have made their 4th signing of the summer. Midfielder Juninho Bacuna has joined from Dutch side Groningen for an undisclosed fee. The 20-year-old signing a 3-year contract at the John Smith Stadium.
Richie, beautifully done. That's our news round for this evening. It's still 0-0 between Spain and Iran. 30 minutes on the clock. Johnny will be back later on to talk us through this situation in Galway, whereby they are very much on the road now to having new Saudi owners. There was a vote on Monday night. Johnny was at the 2-hour meeting, so he'll fill us in on all the details. But up next, we're talking about those raised eyebrows pointed in the direction of Russia with Ewan McKenna and Matt Slater.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
News Talk is handing the airwaves over to you. Email info@newstalk.com and tell us what issues you want us to tackle on your behalf. News Talk. News, views, choose.
Hi, I'm Brendan Kavanagh, CEO of GDPRcourse.com. GDPR became law on Friday, May 20.